Hello, bricks, chicks, and minifigures. Grinch here from A Falls Welcome, and today I am doing my long-awaited collection tour update. It has been since the end of 2022. I'll just give you a little sneak peek here. Woo, there we go. Since I've done my last collection update, a ton of Lego sets have come out since then. I've moved houses, I have all new display stands, so let's get right into this video. Alright, so we are here. The big reveal. There we go. Alright, that's it. End of the video. Thanks for coming. Just kidding. So, quickly to kind of display or go over my Lego area display. First, I've got all my instructions just over here, organized by set number. You can see numbers that correspond to different sets on there. And then I have like my materials in this bin right there. More materials. This is for oversized instructions. Some of the old vintage stuff, for example, doesn't fit in these magazine boxes, comic boxes. And then I have instructions that are yet to be organized in there. I've got all of my sets and containers here that I use when I move, and also just for storage. I'm working on organizing this, so sorry that is a bit of a mess right now. Old minifigure stand that I used to use that I'm trying to find a spot for. I've got my backlog over here. I've got my parts over here. I use the Brick Architect labels that you can see on there, brickarchitect.com, great resource. There is some random stuff in here. My parts got absolutely obliterated the last time I moved. They just got all sorts of mixed up, so I really need to spend a couple of weekends just going through this and getting this all cleaned up. So this is just right now, just looks good. It does not have a functional purpose quite yet. So I'm gonna, over here will be more minifigure focused parts, and then over here will be more brick parts. I got a bunch more of these Sterilite. These are the Sterilite scrapbook containers. There you can see there. Because they're 14 by 14 by 10, so they hold 12 by 12 paper is what you're looking for. I use those, and then I've got these small little cups that I got on, that's a bad example, cups that I got on Amazon to actually store the pieces by color over here. Again, parts got absolutely obliterated the last time I moved. Boxes were flipped and all sorts of fun stuff. This just, yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that anymore. It's just a nightmare. But so what I do is I have like my plates, bricks, and then my slopes, my common slopes, and then my common modified bricks will go here. So like the masonry bricks or the palisade bricks that I have a ton of. But like, you know, I'm running out of room for slopes, so I'll put the slopes down here. So down over there. And then right now I've got just some, you know, I've got some random stuff in here that I need to go through. Extra minifigures. What I've done is I've got some containers there, and that's what this space will be for going forward. So that's really it on the parts. Not much to talk about there. Oh, I do have some poly bags in here. I kind of need to figure out what I'm going to do with those. These are the magazine poly bags, and I got some other random. These are like superhero ones, so need to figure out what I'm going to do with those. In some cases, they're out here in the wilderness. In other cases, there's just kind of too many of them, and they don't like display super well, so it's more of like for me to display completeness when I do that. But for right now, those are just there. Still figuring out what to do. So yeah, this needs a giant overhaul. That little flower, I'm gonna probably part it out, but it just looked good right there for right now. So over here is kind of like the miscellaneous area. It's just nice to have a spot for just stuff. So like for example, I'm working on, these are extra minifigures I need to just sort, put in small baggies, and then get inside of here. I haven't figured out what to do with these art sets yet. Obviously I don't collect art, but I do collect Marvel, so that's why I have them. I tried hanging one here, and I tried hanging one there, using these command hooks, but unfortunately it did not hang, and this little guy took a giant tumble, and luckily there's, you know, nothing super exclusive about it, but like You can see the damage there, so that bothers me. So I'll get that stuff fixed up, and then I immediately just took him down because I was like, if the 2 didn't hold that one, it's definitely not going to hold this one. So probably just had to put nails in the wall. It's a bummer. I was trying to, like, that's not super sighty to me, so I was trying to get something over there to kind of distract the eye, but oh well. I probably won't be in this space forever either, so new places, new challenges. So that's this area. I've got my build table here. I've got my dusting stuff out. That's the light switch for the cabinets, and then, I mean, you gotta have a dog bed, right? Like, most important builder of them all. Taking a look at my backlog, you can see there is still some stuff. I just picked up Dark Falcon for May the 4th. Most of the stuff in here is gift with purchases or poly bags that I need to build. So I got a lot of duplicates of some of them. So like, this is a duplicate. I'm planning on just selling the dupes, to be honest, but I mostly have some like leftover seasonal stuff that like I maybe didn't get right away, like the Winter Village sets. Like, I got them a little bit late. The kind of season was over, and I was like, well, I really want to build, whatever now versus something Christmas related in the summer. So I'll get to those next Christmas. It'll be a great little build there. But for now, yeah, that's my backlog. It's looking a lot better than it has. All right, so that's kind of everything else. I did want to touch on my dusting stuff real quick. So I left that out here. Obviously, the goal is to get everything in a case, right? But this is just so long and so wide. It's too wide to fit in here. It's too deep to fit in there. It's too long to fit in there. There's never going to be a perfect solution unless you go totally custom, and that's just a ton of expense and takes a ton of time in organizing, because then if you move one thing and everything's in its perfect spot, you've got to move something else. So for now, that's kind of how I got like the modular set up. The other biggest challenge is space. Like, I could put Avengers Tower, right? I could put that here. It could probably fit in here. I'd probably have to just remove this shelf. But if I did that, that would be really all I could get there, right? So I can get a lot more sets in this way and only have to dust that versus, having that in a display and then having to dust everything else. And then plus, I think like this looks really cool as like a little avenue, right? Like, I mean, Ninjago City looks great on its own, but it looks even cooler when they're all connected and hooked up, right? So I really thought that would be the best way to do it. So, all right, without further ado, let me talk quickly about the dusting, sorry. So for the dusting, these are obviously the sets that are out here have to be dusted. The sets that are in here do not have to be dusted, and that's because I custom made some door frames for them. I'll show you how those work at the end of the video, what I did there. But so what I'll do is I just have that little brush. There's a little makeup brush over there, and I'll just walk through, get all this stuff dusted, and then I've got this Dyson vacuum attachment here. This is soft enough bristle where so far it hasn't scratched anything yet. If you use something that's got a little bit firmer bristles, like this one, for example, it will scratch the crap out of Lego pieces. So this guy is soft enough to not scratch, so that's okay for me. But what I really do is, if I'm really concerned, I use this, which is just a really fine makeup brush with really fine bristles. That does not scratch at all. And then I'll use this guy, this is a little hand vac, to clean out the dust, because dusting with this just pushes the dust around. This gets rid of it, right? So that's why the vacuum attachment for my handheld Dyson and this little small vacuum are very important. It's because this actually pulls the dust out of this area versus the, look at that. That was not scripted. That was crazy. Versus this little guy is what actually helps just get it off the models, right? So without further ado, let's get into the collection tour. There is going to be a slight glare if I don't do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the overhead lights, and I'm going to turn off the lights on the cabinets that I am not using, and it's going to make that glare pretty much go away on this side, and on this side it'll make it totally go away. So it'll be a lot better presentation that way. So I'm going to get that all ready and pick up this Iron Man. You like the floor, buddy. And get right into this collection overview. All right, so I'm gonna start over here in my set collection of rare sets and miscellaneous sets, really, to be honest, but mostly rare stuff, Comic-Con stuff, etc. So let's go ahead and start down here. I've got my Lego House exclusive pirate minifigure, my chrome gold C-3PO. You can see him right there in the corner. I did that intentionally. Employee gift X-Wing, Bespin Duel, and then up here, a little bit of like overflow of the Star Wars stuff. So I've got my Nebulon B. I've got my Office set. It just doesn't really fit anywhere else because it's kind of like its own thing. I don't really collect the TV sets, but I do love the Office. A couple old gift with purchases, BNSF Railroad, if you know, you know. And then the London bus. Got my Toy Fair Captain America. I got his hips separated there so it doesn't damage his torso over time, you know, any stress. And then this is a little like minifigure display box I got on Amazon, and then I actually have him though on a Lego tile, a Lego brand tile, just to make sure, sorry I zoomed in too much, just to make sure, you know, if it's an off-brand Lego item, I don't want it to not be built to the same tolerance. Just because it's Lego compatible doesn't mean it's Lego made. And then that way I can be sure it's not going to crack his legs. If it does, those are just black legs, right? So that's easy to replace. I've got my Superior Spider-Man alternate art, number 19 variant, signed by Mr. Stan Lee right there. A couple other people, I believe the author and the illustrator, and then I forget who the fourth person is, but it's in really good condition. I just thought this was cool. Just a Rocket Raccoon with the Lego-fied Stan Lee on it, so definitely not as rare as that one. Got the congratulations back there. That actually goes with Miles Morales Sony Spider-Man Comic-Con. But then behind that I've got the Comic-Con brickheads. Those are always awesome. I love the box art on those too. The Comic-Con sets box art and like box is just premium, which is really nice. I mean, you certainly pay for it, but it does make it have a nice feel. I've got my Ant-Man and the Wasp, my Black Widow, Captain Marvel Comic-Con sets, some Comic-Con figures here. I've got Bart the Bowman, the Collector, PS4 Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales as well, Sheriff Deadpool, Deadpool Duck, Captain America Sam Wilson. For the longest time, that was the only way to get that figure. I haven't really checked his price since they've had a ton of versions of him come out, but Comic-Con ones always typically retain their value. Steve Rogers, Captain America, and then I got the canceled Overwatch 2 set, which I just think is so cool. I got that from a toy store in Turkey. Over here, this is definitely like the least valuable. It's just the 40th anniversary of Trains. Lego gift with purchase. It's not super valuable. I just thought it was really cool, and I liked the old like logo styling on it. So that's a few years old now, but got the Holy Grail over here. I've got the exclusive T-Rex. That was the promotional giveaway. I had these stands that I made, and what I did is I just put a little felt liner on top there to make sure I don't damage the boxes. Ultimately, I need to get these boxes in their own mini acrylic, just to help protect them. I've got the Hobbit Comic-Con, the Shrine or Throne, of Ultron, the Rocket Raccoon, Warbird set as well. All of these are Comic-Con exclusives. I've never understood the appeal of having a smaller number. I guess, you know, that always makes it a little bit more rare, but I don't know if you can see it there. The Ultron one is 13 of 2,500 or 1,500, and this one is 60. So for my box number enjoyers, there you go. Here I've just got like some historical gift with purchases. So, you know, I've got the Oliver's Tale, the Hans Christian Andersen, Eiffel's Apartment, Jane Goodall. I just really liked these sets, to be honest. They're not like super valuable by any means, you know, nothing like this shelf, but I just think they're cool. Over here I got some random Bricktober packs from a few years ago from Toys R Us that were canceled. Again, not valuable. I just think is really cool. This little T-Mobile bike. You actually had to sticker on that torso design, so it's just a white torso with pink arms, and then you actually had to put the sticker on. So I think it's cooler in box. Look at that tiny little Lego box. Gift with purchases that I like are in here. The light up flashlight police officer. Unfortunately, his battery does not work. I've got Chief from Rock Raiders, if you know, you know. And then down here, again, Stranger Things set. I think is expensive on the secondary market, but it's nothing crazy for Lego standards. So I've got that here. And then this is just like the Stranger Things house. This was a cool little build that they did in Lego stores only. So that's pretty exclusive and hard to find. And then I got the Barb minifigure, of course. And then I got more Lego House exclusives here. I've got the duck to go along with the pirate minifigure. I've got the Lego House architecture set, which I think is awesome. And then they built this kind of smaller thing. And I believe these are all Lego House exclusive sets as well. So I need to get the dinosaurs, I need to get the brick building machine and the tree of creativity, but obviously I have the duck and the Lego House. So I just thought those mini builds looked really cool in front of the bigger builds like that. So that's the super rare set collection. Let me turn off that light and let's move over to Marvel. So I have struggled for a really long time with Lego Marvel and how to display the minifigures. I got like that minifigure case. I got these minifigure cases. I made a bajillion of these little stands, as you can see on the top there. And what I finally settled on is having them sorted by year. Now, you could sort them by Bricklink's number or Lego's number. The only issue with that is, for example, this Wasp minifigure. Every time they'll find a variant. So this is the Translight Blue variant wing, and this is the Light Blue variant wing. If you sort it by Bricklink number and you got everybody lined up perfectly, 1 to 1,000 or whatever, if number 200 is off and you got to add one, you got to move everybody down. That's super annoying. So what I've done, the other way I thought about doing it was sorting it by movie, which is why I made all those tiny little ones. But I think a really good example is this set right here. This is the Sanctum Sanctorum set. It was made for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It was marketed as that. It is cataloged as that. However, it did come with one of the children of Thanos. I'm blanking on the name. It's not Ebony Maw. It came with Ebony Maw. And I'm trying to find where he is. He's right there. That's an Infinity War figure, right? That Tony Stark is also an Infinity War figure. Sorry, that one is right there. They came with that set. So if you do it by set and then by movie, you're going to have to really make your own catalog. And that's actually what I did. And that just took so much time, especially now that they're doing these Infinity Saga sets where, you know, it might be from a movie, it might not be. It's, you know, for some of the Iron Man Hall of Armors, for example. So what I've settled on, I think this is the best way to do it, is I've got this set up by year. So this is 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 4, all the way to 25. And the reason I've done that is, let's say they do discover a variant here, right in 2013. I've got a spot there for it. 2012, I've got a spot. I can move that over, I can move that down, right? There's actually spaces that are built in here so that if I do, you know, right here, for example, if they do come out with a variant, those aren't missing minifigures. If they're missing, for example, over here, and I believe that guy is right there, if they're missing, I just leave a blank spot like that. And the color corresponds to their Marvel sub-theme. So blue is Avengers in 2012, Iron Man 3 in 2013. Red is Ultimate Spider-Man, yellow is X-Men. It's not consistent year to year, but what I've done is I've actually made little cards that say 2012, and this is what the number corresponds to, or the color corresponds to. So that's kind of been the way I got around it, and I'm really happy with how that looks. I tried doing it by character, but again, they add a character or two, and then all of a sudden it's you're just moving minifigures around anytime they come out with a new set. And then this way I'm adding figures on to the end versus moving stuff from the front and back, etc. 2024 is not done yet. I've still got a lot in my backlog to open, and I haven't even started on 2025 yet. But up to 2013 is pretty complete, minus that one right there. So that's Marvel. So set wise, I've got some of the original sets here. I do have every single Marvel set. The challenge for me has been which ones to display, and I think ultimately I'm going to have to make a couple of really tough decisions and just have some of my favorites on display, because there's just so many sets. So I've got like an open spot here for the Civil War battle that they came out in that style. I was trying to do like one shelf per movie, but then certain movies have like one set. For example, Captain Marvel had that one set, Black Widow had that one set, Ant-Man had that one set, Ant-Man and the Wasp had that other set, Ant-Man and Quantumanium had its own set, which I haven't built yet, which would go there. But it just became this like battle of space, and then where do you put stuff, because if you got stuff chronological. So what I'm gonna have to do is just kind of do it like my Hall of Fame of Marvel here. So right now I've kind of just got a mismatch of sets on there, but when I get kind of everything else on my to-do list done, I'll definitely be revisiting this area and going through it and making some decisions. I really like the Bowie. I think that's a really cool set. I really like a lot of the Guardian sets. I think the Nova ship is really cool too. One of my favorite Milanos and favorite Lego sets is right there. This set has a lot of personal value to me, so it might not be the coolest set, but I really like it. I really like the Arsham Celestial set too. I think some of the criticism for the Eternals movie is definitely fair. Some of it, I actually think it's a better movie than people give it credit for. But I think the Lego sets were awesome, especially that one. So yeah, I've got a little bit of Marvel over here too, more of like the kind of quote-unquote UCS style set. So eventually what I think I'm going to have to do is just have these other sets kind of take the space of a lot of these smaller sets, and just kind of have my my all-star top 30 sets or whatever, because there's just so many Marvel sets. And to be perfectly honest, not all of them are the best. For the longest time, Marvel was seen as like you buy the set for the minifigure sort of experience versus buying it for the set itself. That I feel like has recently changed, but it certainly was not the robust theme that it is today. So stuff like the Goat Boat, well, that was really cool at first, then the movie came out, it's not as cool. So that one probably will be going away. And then over here, I'm actually currently working on this shelf again. I left the door off of this one, it's right here, so I can show you kind of what all I'm doing with those doors and how I did that. But I've got kind of just like a Spider-Man and miscellaneous here. So I've got the original Spider-Man minifigures down there. I'm working on completing that collection, but then I've got like the CMFs over here. If the rumors are true, there'll be another one, so that'll go there. Of course, I've got the Marvel Modulars here, Avengers Tower and all of its glory. My god, that's a beautiful set. I've got the Sanctum and then the Daily Bugle. What I've done is, like with some of the extra minifigures, for example, the Green Goblin there, or the Miles Morales or Spider-Ham, I've got their figures on here already, and so I had extra ones. So like Daredevil is technically there on the directions, but he's over there, so I just put Miles there, just to give some of these a little bit more life. Having this section out here like this also just kind of gives this area a little bit more life. I will also work to integrate the X-Men into 2024 too. So that's the plan there. That is all of the Marvel. Let me go ahead and we'll touch on this area really quick. So this is just kind of some miscellaneous minifigures that I have. Like I like the dinosaur costume. So yeah, they all go here. Just duplicates or whatever. I really like the holiday ones, so I got all those. So those are what's there. Oops, I'll turn that light off. I manage all the lights here. Okay, So over here is the Overwatch section. Love this section. I think these sets were criminally underrated. They also came out maybe a year or two late. I do need to print a sticker on there, so I'll have a sticker kind of like that one that just says Overwatch on it. But I have all the sets there. I really, really enjoy these sets. They were fun to build. And I think the cool thing too is just the diversity in set. You know, like with Marvel, for example, you get so many so many, you know, figure built like that, or ships. Here you got mechs, which is mostly this top shelf, but then down here you got like a cool car build, spaceship build, right? You've got this, you know, oversized Junkertown build. You got a little play scale build. So there's just a lot here. When I bought some of these sets on eBay, the person actually included this license plate and official soundtrack, and then they included like a Overwatch Monopoly for free, because I think they were done with Overwatch, so I guess I kind of lucked out there. Got the GameStop exclusive as well. Going up here, you can see Curse Mario, but I got all the Mario stuff. I only collect the big D2C sets. I'm really hoping the Mario Kart will fit there. If not, I gotta figure something out. But that's why there's that blank spot there. It's for the Mario Kart, the buildable one. But I got Bowser there. Really awesome set. Just amazing what they were able to do with the sculpting for that set. Piranha Plant looks awesome. Question Block, NES, and then the Mario and Yoshi. So I will turn off this section and turn on the next section. So we got Avatar over here, the blue people, not the airbenders. This set is a nice area. I just think these sets are pretty. I like the movies. I don't know how permanent this area is going to remain, but for right now, I've got them on there. I'll be curious. You know, I know there's a new movie coming out at some point in the near future. Curious if LEGO decides to continue with these sets or not. But yeah, I've got them all there. I got them on their own stands. A little bit closer image here of what I've done with the name plates. That's just a custom sticker on there. And then going up here, this is kind of like the gaming area, right? Overwatch, Super Mario, and then we've got Fortnite. So a couple more sets I got to build there. Obviously, with the recent news, that area will be expanding a little bit. I've got Sonic. I'm not the biggest Sonic fan, but I did really enjoy this set, and I do respect the IP, so I wanted to have one set, so I got the Idea set only. That's kind of like my Sonic set. Dune, awesome set. Really awesome set. I do need to put a sticker on there as well, but I got that all set up. Just one of the best sets of its year. Small Ninjago area. I've got some weapons on the way from Brick Link for them, but I've got all the golden ninjas here, including Golden Wu. Again, just another set that like I had no intention of buying until I actually saw it, and I was like, wow, LEGO's art. Just a beautiful set. I just thought it was really cool and clever. Got the micro builds over here. It actually is set up in an L shape just so it can fit in there better. And then I've got the classic space set and the Blacktron. These are the anniversary editions. I never really collected the original classic space, but I respect it and wanted to have something calling it out on display. Viking Village. Don't know how long that will be up, but I do really like that set. Great idea set. I was so happy when they made it. Really fun build too. Really interesting build. A lot of different angles on here that I really enjoyed with it. You know, there's just nothing really square about it other than the Lego bricks. And then down here we're at the Avatar. So over here we go into more licensed IPs. We've got the Indiana Jones Temple. We've got the two other new Indiana Jones sets with the plane from Last Crusades, and then the kind of Temple of the Ark Discovery. And I've got all the Indiana Jones minifigures here. For some reason, I lost my Raiders of the Lost Ark sticker, so that's not on there, but it starts with that, then goes over to Temple, then Crusades, and then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Down here, I've got a sad Lego theme. I've got Prince of Persia. These are the sad Lego theme sections. This was interesting because it's the first video game IP Lego ever did. I remember people were pretty hyped about it, but then the movie was pretty bad. And I rewatched it. It was okay. It was fine. I don't necessarily know why it flopped, but you know, we're here to talk about Lego, not movies. So I've got all the sets here. I think the minifigures are really cool. And the other thing that I think about that's really cool about it is obviously this is like Middle Eastern themed, and Lego just doesn't visit that area of the world a lot. And so I really it just adds something to my display area overall personally. You know, we've got like some Western stuff, some kind of fantasy stuff, some historical stuff, right? And then we've got some Middle Eastern stuff here too. So I like it for that reason. I think it adds just a nice little bit of kind of diversity to the collection. And you know, I could have 50 Milanos or I could have 3 Milanos and, you know, something like this, right? So I really like that for that reason. Over here, I have the other sad Lego theme. I've got the Lone Ranger sets. I've got all of those. Really like these sets. I mean, I think the sets themselves are really good. I actually have never seen the movie, but again, similar to this was an era of Disney where they were kind of trying to recreate Pirates of the Caribbean success, and the movies themselves just were not doing it. So the sets, though, I mean, these sets are legit. This is one of the best trains Lego has ever come out with, the Constitution. We've got a modernized version of the TP here, which you'll find out is one of my favorite Lego themes of all time, is the Native American theme. And then we've got this cool mine shaft. So again, I don't always display poly bags, but in like a case like this or a case like this, where it's like there's one poly bag and I've got everything else on the shelf, it makes sense for me to put it there. Up here, I've got Pirates of the Caribbean. This is the On Stranger Tides sets. And then these are the Curse of the Black Pearl sets and the Dead Man's Chest sets. And then I got a Stranger Tides blister pack here as well. And then I got all the minifigures. So these are the Stranger Tide minifigures. Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, and then the newest Dead Man's Tell No Tale. So those are all the pirate sets. I really enjoyed this piece right there. That is Davy Jones' heart. It is a anatomically correct heart that is printed on a 1x1 cylinder. That piece is so funny. It's relatively expensive for a printed cylinder too, and one that I just think is really cool. So I have that prominently on display there, like I said, because I just think it's cool. Same with like the Voodoo doll over here. I got Voodoo Sparrow, and then I got the small Voodoo doll as well. All right, one of my favorite sections, and I will get to this stuff here, and I'll show that again when I get the other lights on. But I've got the new Shire sets. Check out the podcast for my thoughts on that. Overall, I like the set. I just wish if it was going to include this stuff, I wish that stuff was better, or I wish it didn't and it was just cheaper for that. But that's down here. Up here, I've got the brickheads, I've got the dimensions, and then I've got all the minifigures for the Lord of the Rings. You know, one of the things is there's so little sets here, and this theme is so kind of unestablished. I mean, it's fairly established for Lego standards, but you know, compared to like Marvel as such an IP powerhouse that Lord of the Rings is, compared to Marvel, there's so few sets. So I originally had it by the actual movies, but then, you know, for example, originally Frodo and Sam, which was that Sam and that Frodo, only came out on the Return of the King set. So if you're trying to like have the Fellowship on display, I mean, some of them came in the Fellowship of the Ring sets, some of them came in the Return of the King sets, some of them came in the Two Towers sets. You know, they kind of just had this giant wave all at once. So it just felt better to just have everybody on display and kind of order versus doing it by movie. So going up here, I've got a little bit of Hobbit stuff mixed in, of course, but you know, Hobbit's mostly over here. I've got the two games. I love these micro figures, or I guess these were micro figures, right? The other ones are nano. correct me in the comments. But I just think these are so cool that they did these printed little guys. Return of the King sets, Treebeard, Mines of Moria, you know, all the original sets here. Got the new gift with purchase set up right there. I've got the infamous Fell Beast there, and then Helm's Deep, of course, over here. So the idea was to get all the Lord of the Rings sets over here as I could, and all the Hobbit sets over here as I could. So going to the Hobbit, we got the Goblin King, the worst Hobbit or Lord of the Rings set of all time right there with the tree, the original Shire, Wargs, Riddle of the Ring, Dol Guldur, etc., Mirkwood, and then Smaug himself, the Lonely Mountain, Battle of Five Armies, and then Lake Town. I was trying to keep it thematically similar, so, you know, this is Unexpected Journey. These are kind of Desolation of Smaug, but really it's Dol Guldur, Mirkwood, you know, Mirkwood, right? It's kind of, I really like how that's like good Mirkwood, poison Mirkwood, Dol Guldur to kind of like set the scene a little bit. And then, of course, like Lonely Mountain, Battle for the Lonely Mountain, and then the Lake Town stuff over here. So kind of by biome, by movie, by theme, set those up. And I really like how that turned out. Down here, I've got some of the Hobbit minifigures. I mean, like Thandriel, Baller minifigures, so good. You know, those Elrons. I mean, there's just a lot of minifigures to love here. And then again, this is an example of where I've got some poly bags. This was something they gave out, I believe, at movies randomly. He's not exclusive, but that card is. So I am missing a poly bag. I'm not missing. I have it. It's the Lake Town Guard. I don't have him sealed, and I do want to get him sealed so I can have all of the completed. He'll go right there. All right, over here, kind of going into like the oversized section and the historical section. So I've got, of course, Pirates of Barracuda Bay. That was a set I missed. I regretted it. And I've seen so many of them set up in the Black Sea Barracuda configuration that I was like, I want to keep mine in the Pirates of Barracuda Bay configuration. So I've got that there. Just a messy, beautiful set. Down here, I've got my Native American stuff, which was part of the Western series. It was a sub-theme. What I really like about this is, well, kids often pitted the Native Americans versus the cowboys because that was kind of what you're supposed to do back then. I really like this because the Native Americans are kind of just living. Like the point of contention in the set, or the conflict that the narratively is created in the set, is with nature. It's with stuff like this boulder over here falling, or this bridge falling, you know, these logs falling as you go down the waterfall. So just some kind of fun, adventurous, you know, Native American sets that are at, you know, peace with nature. I thought that was really cool. Obviously, as a kid, like, I just dreamed of like cowboys versus Indians, which, you know, is, you know, up to debate on if that's appropriate or not these days. But of course, that's what I did. But as an adult, I can really kind of appreciate those differently. And I just think, like, stepping back, this looks really cool. I just think that looks so cool like that. So I've got the 90th anniversary castle, one of my favorite sets. Put the blacksmith next to it. Fortunately, it doesn't like scale super well. But then I kind of got a scene. I ordered some more just line knights and some black falcons. You can kind of see them, like these archers here I custom made, and those swordsmen. And I did that. I put some additional archers on the wall too, just to give this scene a little bit more life. And this guy's like, oh my god, I gotta get out of here. There's a big battle that's about to take place. And this guy, you know, back here is freaking out. So I got the Forespin hideout gift with purchase there. Down here I got El Dorado Fortress, which is just awesome. I've been trying to figure out a better way to display it because, like, this is too much empty space, you know. Space is a premium, so I'm gonna probably put Jaws near it and maybe elevate this a little bit so you can kind of see it on a different level and do it that way. But yeah, those two will probably be combined. Over here in this blank spot under Hobbit. I really don't know what I'm going to do with it right now. Hopefully we get more Lord of the Rings sets, but it's not bad to have an empty shelf or two in the display. What I'll probably do over here is put the medieval market over here for right now, and then move that over there. Over here, I need to find a spot for the tall neck over in that gaming area. I've got a Lunar New Year set, which looks good, and then I did show the jaws earlier, but again, too much white space there. I need to optimize some of this. My favorite Lego set of all time, Eldorado Fortress. I had the Playmobil version of this as a kid, but I never had the Lego one, and I have never played with the toy more than that. And I could only imagine what I would have done with this Lego one. I do have a brand new original sticker sheet too that is worth a very pretty penny. If I ever decide to resell it, I'll resell it with that to get as much value out of it as possible. Because, like, you know, you can't see it super well, but like that sticker's not placed the best, but it's a 30 plus year old set at this, or 25-year-old set, so what can you do? So I broke this up into two sections though. I've got kind of the downtown area, they're delivering some money over here with the Union soldiers, and I've got that bandits are always lurking on the outskirts here, ready to fire and get that money. So I just set up a little fun scene there with the sets, as kind of you would see back in the day in some of their marketing materials. And then this is, hey, they're just escorting it. There's the Frontier Patrol, there's the covered wagon, and then this actually came with the Eldorado. Fort Legorado. I think I said Eldorado. Fort Legorado. It came with Fort Legorado. So I was just trying to set up these kind of like micro scenes here with that. Nanoscale Hogwarts, not much to say there. My wife and I built that. She's a big Harry Potter fan. I buy Harry Potter for her if she wants it. I don't force it. And we will build it. So there's also the rest of her Harry Potter collection over here. So I still need to get my hands on the micro scale Diagon Alley. What I might do is take this Diagon Alley apart and put that there instead. But I do really like the micro scale Harry Potter sets, like the castle. I actually bought that castle myself, even though my wife didn't want it, just because I wanted it. But yeah, so that's her little Harry Potter area. I've got my soccer stadium set up from when I was a kid. I had this set as a kid. Mine is in pieces. This was actually my old next door neighbor's set. He gave it to me, and did not do a good job with those stickers, but it is in much better condition than my set, so I can't complain. This is an example of where I bought some used stuff to kind of fill out the scene. I had one of the lights, but then I went and bought like the stand, the film entryway, the other stands, and the lights for like $8 each, versus trying to buy them new for like $40 each. I don't need this in amazing condition. This set's not in amazing condition, so I just bought them that way, and this looks great. I really like how that turned out. Blank space, not a bad thing. And the endurance, love, love, love this set. Easily top 10 set for me, as well as the Ernest Shackleton gift with purchase. Unfortunately, my sales were very damaged, so I didn't even bother putting them on. I just reached out to Lego, and I've got replacement sales on the way, although they've been on the way for a couple months now, so hopefully they show up soon. But I do still have the other sales just in case. But yeah, they were just really creased in the box and damaged, and when those sales get creased, they don't get uncreased very easily. Got my Pirates of the Caribbean ships here. Sorry, this will be the most glare I think we get all video. I've got the Silent Mary as well. I really like the scale. Like, this is definitely more of a play scale here, and this is definitely its own scale, and it just there's something about it that is just really awesome. I like all the cannons that you get on it, right? Like, in my opinion, having that line of 12 cannons on the bottom is better than just having 6 on the side. So I really like what they do with that set. That set has really grown on me over the years. And of course I had the Black Pearl. Excited to see what the future is for this theme. Wink, wink, wink. Down here I've got Rivendell, and I've got the Pirate Ambush boat. This is the one set I always feel like everybody who ever comes down here, they walk through and they just stop here and they're just like, wow, this is beautiful. And I can't disagree. They just did such an amazing job capturing that set. Awesome job with Rivendell. There's a rebrickable instruction out there where you actually combine two of them and build this other section that looks really cool too. All right, so let's get this next section done and then I'll show the top part. Starting over here, we got brickheads, and then we got Marvel brickheads specifically, and then I've got all the little Mighty Micros, but these are some of my favorites. And then I got the helmets as well. I've got one of the original buildable figures that they did. Gosh, those were so terrible. Those were so terrible, but that's pretty good. I've got all the helmets, of course. Got Miles back there. I wanted to have one of the buildable figures on display, and I liked the Miles one. Got some of my favorite mechs as well. I don't know why. I just really like the Captain America one. I thought the shield was a great inclusion there, and it just works for me. Same thing with like the Wolverine and the claws and the Hulk with the I-beam bar. For the brickheads, I'm actually thinking about moving these ones, so I've got more room for Marvel stuff over here, just a little bit more room. I'm actually planning on moving those brickheads over here and putting them on this side up here. Then I've got my Speed Champions. Do need a little bit more room for them. I've got a couple more I need to build. And I really focus on like the licensed Speed Champions, and then I've got just like I really like the Ford Bronco and the Mustang, and I like Audis, for example. So I got those ones just because they were cool. I love that American flag print on that Camaro as well. So these are just sad. I don't collect Speed Champions, but I do have some because some of them I just really like. And the fossilized T-Rex will be going here. If he does not fit here, he will go over in one of those blank spots. Starting out over here, I've got the Dino Island Johnny Thunder set. I got the lineup of minifigures over there. I've got all the little babies, even if they didn't come in the Johnny Thunders, I just put them in here because they were that same style. I believe this was a polybag. This was a prototype. That was never officially released. I believe a master builder had those printed. And then this one came in a poly bag as well as that one. So really only the green one is the one that came in this series. I've got some of the other original dinosaurs that they've done over here with the Studio Jurassic Park 3 sets with the Spino. Got both of the sets there. Those are the Raptors, which to this day just make me laugh because they used the Brontosaurus or the Brachiosaurus head on the Raptor, so like you can't unsee it. This is the baby Brachiosaurus and this is a Velociraptor, but Mosasaurus, I liked all these. I just thought it was kind of cool to have like the different eras of dinosaurs. And then down here I've got a mix. This is all gonna be Jurassic Park sets, Visitor Center, the best version of the Jeep that they came out with, and then the big ass T-Rex. And then I've got the gate over here. I just fit better this way. And I got the T-Rex breakout and stuff. This is an area I'm gonna need to update, but for now it's kind of how I've got it set up. I've got Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, the dinosaur skeleton there, and then some other minifigures, dimensions, poly bags, etc. Some Jurassic World sets, some of my favorites. Again, I have all the sets. I would need probably all of this area to just display Jurassic World if I had them all out. So, I've kind of made some compromises here. I'm gonna have to make some more compromises in the near future with the new movie coming out. I really like the Lockwood Manor set. It's just a great set. I like that Gyrosphere set. Wanted to get some fencing in there. And every once in a while hide a dinosaur somewhere in this area where you don't see a lot of the dinosaurs. Oh, I left my whoops, I left my polishing brush there, or my dusting brush there. I was actually looking for that. That's good to know. I got the other T-Rex skeleton. I've got, or sorry, Triceratops. I've got the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World Dominion, every single Velociraptor and baby dino that they've come out with. Down here, these are so cool. I like some of them with like really different cool colors on them, but yeah, all the Velociraptors are also really, really awesome. Got the herbivores and the flying reptiles. That's right, I called them flying reptiles over here. And then I've got the carnivores over here. Built just that tall stand just to get some more in there to use as much space as possible. And then over here, I've got the Adventures of Isla Nublar sub-theme that they did. I've got Camp Cretaceous, that will have to get a little bit bigger, but I've got plenty of stands up there. And then I've got Dominion and a dusting brush. Again, some of my favorite Dominion sets that they came out with. Here's where you get the rest of my Star Wars, which is not much. I really only collect the dioramas and the MIDI scale ship series. So for the dioramas, I've got all of them. I'm going to elevate those as well, so I can put more down here if needed. Anything that Legos come out with, like the MIDI scales, for example, is in my backlog. I just haven't built it yet, but I do have all of them that have been released so far. So like all of those. I really like the dioramas. I just felt like if I wasn't going to collect it all and I was only going to collect a little bits, this is what I was going to collect. Visible hand, I got that. Gift with purchase, I thought that looked cool next to that coin. And then I did, this is some of my like Star Wars sets from when I was a kid are over here. So what I did is I actually had the 20th anniversary of Star Wars sets over here with the minifigures. These I just thought were really cool minifigure kind of polybag designs that they did. They did that around the time Solo came out, and I think it was 2018 that they did these, because there's DJ from The Last Jedi, Kessel Mine, Worker. I liked them. I liked the little cards they had on there. They haven't done that ever again, but I really thought those were cool promos. 20th anniversary minifigures. So what I've done is I've got the 20th anniversary sets, and I've got their counterparts, their original versions over here. It's like that was the Slave 1 I had as a kid, Pod Racer, Dropship, etc. One of my favorite sets of all time, the Snow Speeder. And then I put the 25th anniversary minifigures over here. I do have them all. Again, they're just over there in the backlog. I haven't finished opening up those sets yet. And I do have the UCS Star Destroyer. I don't have it on display. It's just a pain to move, and it's so big, as well as the Falcon. So I did put those figures here, though, because those are really, really good and cool figures. And then I do have all of the light-up lightsaber figures as well. Over here, another one of my wife's sets, the Hocus Pocus house. She really liked it, so what I've decided to do in this area is this is going to be kind of like a Disney area. I've got the Nightmare Before Christmas in the backlog that my wife is going to build. That will go here. I built this Disney 100 set. One of my favorite Disney animated movies is the Robin Hood movie, so I put that there. I'm not like a big Disney collector, but this set was so cool to me. It came with this film strip of Lego-fied scenes of famous Disney animation. I mean, it's the only set to ever come out with a Walt Disney minifigure. It's got Dumbo back there, who's super cute, and then Bambi, who's also super cute. So I was like, I have to get that set, so I did. I love it. I think they did an excellent job with it, but that's kind of the Disney section. Again, intent here is the Nightmare Before Christmas set, which is right there. Over here, get into the end here, we've got the Lunar New Year sets. Some of them, I have all of them. Some of them I have not built yet, as you can see. But I am intending on just putting all the special edition minifigures that they came with out over here. And then just having a couple of my favorite one I really love, Auspicious Dragon. This was the original one. I don't know if I'll keep it on display, the family dinner. But I like that dragon. So what I might do is just have like my favorite ones on here. And then I don't know if anything will top that Auspicious Dragon, but if it does, I'll pull it out and put it on there. This is my Valorant mock that I made. There's a video on that on the channel. I will be displaying that at Brickworld Chicago. And then Harry Potter CMF, as well as Gringotts Bank over there. So Series 2 Series 1. And what I did with the Series 1 is because there was multiple figures that like could transform, like Filch, for example. I got both the Polyjuice version and non, and then I've got both of the Grindelwald and whatever Colin Farrell's character was actually named. I forget, that movie was terrible. But yeah, I've got all that over here. So that is everything in the display cabinets. I'm going to go ahead and get the lights on and we'll talk through the modulars. All right, so back at it. Got all the lights on. I didn't really talk about the helicarrier, but I got that here. I did talk about it like in relation to the size and stuff, but did want to call it out. What a beautiful set. I love that set. All right, taking a look on top. A long time ago, I made the decision that, you know, if you're gonna like really dive into the Lego hobby, it's best to kind of pick a lane. It's best to know yourself and kind of pick a lane. And so I was trying to build a city and also have like all this really nice display area set up. And I quickly realized like that just wasn't gonna work. You run out of space, number one. Number two, it's a lot of money. And number three, there's just not enough time in the world to like really fully delve into everything like that, especially you know, in my case where, you know, I'm working a 9 to 5 and pretty committed to that job and my career. So what I kind of happy compromise I decided to do was to have my modulars displayed like this, because the modulars really look best connected, right? I mean, they're meant to be connected, they're designed to be connected, they're designed to be a part of a bigger section of build. So my kind of compromise was I was going to put some road plates down and kind of have a scene of a city without having a full city, right? Like this is purely just the modulars. Like there's not really any other sets up here with the exception of the botanical gardens and a couple of like sets like that, you know. So I might put some cars out here, but like it's not intended to be a city. It's more of intended to elevate the display of the modulars itself. So starting over here, I do have all the modulars. Market Street, Green Grocer, Cafe Corner. Obviously, originally it was Cafe Corner, Market Street, Green Grocer, but anybody who has the modulars quickly finds out that you can't really, I mean, sure, you can set it in terms of, you know, chronologically what came out, but the issue with that is Lego comes out with one corner every 3 modulars. So eventually, you know, if you could start over here at Cafe Corner and then Market Street and then Green Grocer, Fire Street, you know, so on and so forth, right? But you'd eventually run into a spot where it's like, okay, well, wait a second, I got to put my corner down, and then you don't have a corner on the opposite side if I wanted to have this little through way. So I kind of created my own little lore here, so bear with me. So, you know, we've got the older side of town, maybe the more historic side of town, where you've got, you know, your garages, your old fire station, your older kind of historic hotel, your old, you know, city market, right? And then as you go along this way, you get to more of the commercial government area, fire station, police, town hall, the bank, and then we get into more of the modern, you know, maybe this is a rejuvenated area, a chicer area, cooler area, if you would, the entertainment area with kind of the updated, you know, overpriced lofts that, you know, $4,000 a month sort of thing for a studio, you know, that's that area. We don't like that area. No, so starting over here, I've got the Market Street, and then I go into the Green Grocer, of course, and then the Cafe Corner. Ideally, in the perfect world, you know, eventually this little road here will connect through to the other side, as you can see down here, and I'll have to move Ninjago. I'm thinking in my next space, hopefully I won't have like a door right there, and I can just have some more space like I have over there with Avengers Tower, just kind of over here, and I'll put some more sideways stuff. But for right now, this works. Then we go into the garage slash vet. You can see the back side of the docks. I've got the fire station, of course. This guy fell over and I knocked off a light. But we're back. All right. Really simple fire truck. I like that. Police station. I decided to put the pool hall in between City Hall and the police station. I didn't want to like 1, 2, 3, 4 in order, so I needed something in between. And I really like the pool hall. And plus, with this shorter side here, I originally had town hall over there, but the shorter side here, it actually gets more natural light onto this sign right here. So I like that. Like that makes sense that there's a light a sign there now, whereas with the town hall it was just like that and kind of blocking it. So that was part of the reason I put detective's office there, but then also like the detective and the police, like, get it? Detective, police, okay. And then the pool hall, so all the civil workers over here will go to the pool hall after work or go get their hair cut during their lunch or something like that. Then over here we get City Hall. Gosh, I love that set. What an awesome set. And it's just really meant to be kind of the main focal point. It's one of the first things, you kind of come in here and you turn and you see like that's the first tallest building that you see. Obviously there's Ninjago stuff in the background and Sauron back there, but as far as the modulars go, that's the tall one. So I wanted it kind of towards the middle. So I've got it here. I've got a little janitor up there peeking out. And then I've got it right next to the bank. So, corruption in the city, perhaps some money laundering, and perhaps the police are aware of it. Who knows? Over here we have the cinema. So again, this is kind of supposed to be that like rejuvenated arts district. So we've got the historic cinema here, but it's new. It's been refurbished and refreshed, and then you can see over there we got the Tudor corner peeking through, as well as the haberdashery. So more intended to be shops, entertainment area, etc. Then we go down to the museum. Don't have much to say there other than the set has grown on me. It still feels a little out of place. I did put it right next to the assembly square because these are both base plate and a half. So together they're 3 base plates, so that I'm not working on an off base plate area. I did split up the bookstore before when I just had assembly square to kind of, that way it was 2, but it was easier to do it this way, and it looks okay. Again, art kind of area, like this will be closed, or these might be open for like a joint screening of a historical movie. All right, assembly square, this is again meant to be, it's supposed to be a little bit more populated down here with people. That's intentional, right? People over here are working, people over here are out having fun, having a good time. This little kid needs to double check the road before he crosses. But we got the bookstore, one of the expensive fancy apartments I was telling you about. I also like it because it just kind of lets this area shine a little bit. It's not overshadowing it as well. And you can see a nice little sight line between the cities. I was looking for 1 or 2 of these where they sometimes do a lot of work on the back of the modulars. In the case of the bookshelf, there's a little patio there. In the case of the diner, there's also just a little kind of access there, and I just liked this kind of claustrophobic long alley sight line right there. So that's what I was hoping for with this, and I think I achieved it. Right, you can see there's something going on over there and you're not quite certain about it. It looks a little sketchy. I'm gonna stay over here. So we've got the art installation again, right next to like the books, right? Maybe there's a studio apartment here, and then we have the new boutique hotel in the area as well. And I am just realized I'm missing the top of this. It is right there. There we go. Must have fallen off while I was dusting. So there's the boutique hotel. Across the street we have the botanical gardens. Put some crosswalks down here, right? So this was meant to be a lively area. That taxi gift with purchase, I believe, came with the boutique hotel. and it came with this little taxi stand. I didn't really know what to do with it, so I just have it right here next to the Gardens gift with purchase, just kind of off on its own display area. Got the hot dog food truck over here on the other side of the Gardens. And I do really like what they did with the Gardens. I wasn't originally going to get it until I saw it on display, and I was just like, okay, I'm getting it. My one criticism is there's no sidewalk over here. So like that's definitely something I could work on in the future. If I ever get the city itch, I could just, you know, do that kind of micro project for the display. Oh, and I'm missing a tile. Oops. All right, so then we have from the Boutique Hotel, we have the second corner piece that ever came out, the Grand Emporium. I like that sign up there and all of the shops. That looks pretty good. Again, look, this was just intended to be a little bit more lively over here and alive. We go to the diner. Again, that nice kind of little alley sightline. You can imagine that as a little lone light at night, and you're like, do I go up here? Do I not? I'm not sure about that. I wanted to get as many of these kind of just small little sight lines as possible, so you can see all the way over there to the Boutique Hotel's little cafe, muso area. I got the pet shop here. This is one I imagine, like if this was all filled with modulars, I'd probably have it somewhere over here. Older apartment, right? Feels a little bit older. But for right now, it's here next to the jazz club. You know, not all of these areas would be open at night, but most of them would, right? The alternative thing I could do is move that over with the bookstore, and bring the bookstore over here, so it is more shops. Then we got the jazz club. I like this area because it's all kind of very similar heights too. You know, very very nice there. We've got the little pizza, the Taylor. And then we have, of course, the Parisian restaurant. Love the Parisian restaurant. I've always felt like this was a little awkward of a spot. Again, I was going after some sight lines here. Like I like this sight line where you can see the top of the museum just right there. You know, I like that. All of that is good in my opinion. I also like this sight line where you can see the top and the back of the cinema, right? Maybe you can feel the walls vibrating a little bit over there if you're sitting down and they got really loud bass on a movie. But I decided to put it next to the Tudor. Obviously it's more English architecture, more French architecture, but it kind of makes sense on like little kind of kitsy little area here. And then they both had this stairwell, so you know, go up one stair to the other side and go up the other stair to the other side, and then you get some nice, again, sight lines here just with that little small opening. Originally I had this over by the Boutique Hotel, and I had this next to the restaurant. That works fine there too. So those are kind of my two preferred spots, next to Tudor or next to Boutique. But I felt like the bookstore worked better over there, but maybe not. I'm actually sitting here thinking maybe I should put that back over there and move the bookstore back over here. I just wanted a little more life. You know, I didn't want to have kind of, I look at this as kind of like a dead spot, and I look at the bookstore as kind of like a dead spot at night for the entertainment. So I wanted one on each side versus two on one side. So that's what I did there. I am actually working on a mock right now for a Lego store that will go right here. Because as I mentioned, Lego only comes out with one corner every 3 years. That means I will always need a corner. So I'll need a corner here. And if I don't have it here, I will need it over there, right? So because they just came out with this corner, I'll need a corner. It'll be two modulars that'll come out, you know, another corner, and then I'll need the corner over here. So I am building my own custom Lego store corner, and I just thought that would be a nice little touch to have there. So we'll see what other, you know, modulars they come out with. I might have to rearrange it because of this plate. Some of these are stuck together with pins, but if I move, or next time I move them around, I'm going to remove the pins because the road plates actually do such a good job keeping everything in here not moving around. So I don't really need the pins, and then that way it's a little bit easier for me to move should that happen, should that come up. So man, I love the Tudor corner. It is beautiful, isn't it? And those are like two really good modulars. I thought they went well next to each other. Over here we have the infamous Ninjago City, one of my favorite sets. Look at that little sight line in there over to the docks. That looks kind of cool, doesn't it? You can see the boat, and then on the other side is, let me get this, is the docks there. That looks cool, doesn't it? I really like that. I'm actually thinking about getting some 8 by 16 base plate. Is it 8 by 16? Yeah, 8 by 16. Sorry, 16 by 32 base plates. Putting them down here and extending the water out a little bit, so I can add just a little water throughway here or something like that. So the order that I did it in is gardens, well, I guess city, of course, docks, market, gardens. And the way I decided that order was based off of looks, right? It's interesting that the docks actually is intended to be presented that way, which I always thought was kind of maybe a miss, but because you can't really actually see, the docks, right? So I don't know. Yeah, feels like a miss, but alas. So over here I've got city, and then I decided to go into the docks here just because that is such a seamless transition, like even surfboard to snowboard. And then a nice little walkway down here too. Then the walkway continues right over to here where, a little blocked off area, a little alley, but then you continue down here into the markets. And then this was also another seamless transition here between the docks and the markets. So overall, I think that looks really good. I like, what they, sorry, my focus. I like the markets a lot too. I think this is, there's a lot of life over here. And then kind of got this, pagoda area. The issue is you have to remove this in order to connect it here. So I left this here for now, and I'm trying to think of what I want to do with the new one. I'm blanking on the name, the workshops. What I might do is just turn this or keep this like this and have it mirror Ninjago City and maybe put that little throughway here. But I might just put it on this side with a little throughway so that it's almost like the other side of the area, and you have to maybe take a boat to get across, or you have to do something like that. But for now I just have this little temple area in between because, like I said, you have to remove this if you want this to connect. I didn't really know what to do with that piece for right now. And then also this area then can't go up here. So I'm still trying to figure that area out. But like this, in my mind, is perfect. This is where we get a little shady, a little shoddy. But I might put the workshop over here depending on how that fits. It's a little bit lower anyways. And then just have this mirror, like I said, the city. So that is pretty much everything. Showed this with better lighting than I did before. Daily Bugle, Avengers Tower. This is what I've been saying, is this is just a little bit too small in my opinion, especially next to like the Sanctum. It just needed to be maybe $100 more of pieces and it would have been better in my mind anyways, but then it's also $100 more. Didn't really talk about Orient Express. I got that down here. I don't really know where to put it. And then of course I've got Isengard, the Tower of Orthanc, and then I've got Barad-dûr, one of my favorite Lego sets of all time as well. Really like what they did with this. Really like how that turned out. So that is the collection. That's everything. Real quickly, I did promise that I would show what I did with my displays. So typically a lot of people will use the Billies. I used the Besta. And the reason I did that is because I could do stuff like this where I can turn them sideways. I liked that they were much deeper, so you can see this is the Billy right here. This is the Besta right here. So it's actually another like 5 inches deeper. Not as long. If I need length, I can do that though. So for my purposes, it was easier. For most people purposes, Billy's easier just because it's simple, straightforward, bam. This required a little bit more of customizing, especially with the doors. The door options for the Billies, much better. I knew I was going this custom route with the doors, so what I did is this is a wooden trim frame. I've got a piece of plexiglass acrylic drilled in here onto the door. I've labeled the door and the shelf in case they ever get misplaced. And then these are weighted at 20-pound magnets right here. So each one of these size doors has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 magnets. These ones have 5. And then the big ones over there, I believe, have 9. And so I just drilled the opposite magnet hole on here. And then I put just some 3/4 inch weather stripping on here, as you can see right here. And that is making it dust free. So this is like 99.9% dust free. There is a small little hole there, small little hole there for the light wire to escape. And then like this is not matched up perfectly, but it is very close to perfect. And that's how I did that. This lighting uses these strip lights that are mounted on there. And there you go, there's a better focus. And I use a little wire hider there as well. So this is a small piece of trim right here that's curved. You can kind of see the curve there, and then it's screwed on there for me, and then it's mounted, and that's mounted to the shelf. So that's how I did the shelves and the custom door. And then this door just simply pops on and off. It is definitely a two-handed job, but I think the end product of those doors is super clean. This is the only case in this tire tour that had its doors removed. All the other ones had them on, and you really can't tell. I mean, I didn't do like a perfect job lining stuff up here, right? But like the point is to focus on the Lego. So, you know, I don't think that will draw too many eyes. That would be my only criticism of my handymanship. But you can see just how clean of a display those doors create, and that's exactly what I was going for with it. I was tired of having a line down the middle of my display area. You buy a door that's glass so that you can see through it, but then 20% of your display area has a line going through it that is distracting and taking away from the display. So you see there's like that one's just off a little bit, but overall pretty darn good in my opinion. So those were my custom doors. That is my display. This is my 2025 Lego room update. Of course I got my build table, and yeah, big update and upgrade since the last time I did this. Of course, there are just so many Lego sets that, I ran out of room. I do want to I think I'm going to put my Cloud City right there for now until I eventually need some spots and spaces, but I do love that set. And yeah, overall, I hope you were happy with the video. Drop any questions you have about the doors or anything like that in the comment section. I can do a video on dusting if that helps anybody the next time my collection needs to be dusted. And yeah, ton of upgrades, ton of updates, and this is why I talk all about curating your collection, because you're just never gonna have enough space to display everything, especially if you've been doing this for 10 plus years collecting Lego. You quickly learn just how fast you run out of space. So I'm going to take one last pass through everything. I did not have the lights off strategically, so apologize about any glare that you can see. But yeah, this is my 2025 Lego room tour update. I hope that you've enjoyed. Please check out our podcast, A Falls Welcome. We release episodes weekly.